Hey everyone, and thank you so much for checking out my Build an Insurance Plan project. Now this is actually a three-part series that comes in this one resource. I was going to break it up, but I didn't want to do that because you might end up then needing multiple parts, and they go together. And you can opt to do the first one, the first two, or all three. So it would kind of go like that. You wouldn't do just the third one; you would build up to it. But I'd love to tell you a little bit about it. So what this is going to be is trying to solve the problem of making insurance something that is exciting, engaging, educational, the things that we try and do here at Fi Educator, and taking on the role of creating the insurance felt like a much better way to learn it than just kind of digging through policies as a user. So what students are going to be doing here is they're going to be building up to the third part of the series, which is actually creating an insurance policy for cell phones. So a cell phone insurance plan is something that I do with my own students, and I love doing it. And this now formalizes that the whole way. So what you will get here is, building understanding of how insurance works, learning the vocabulary, determining risk, and trying to assess how much should I charge a person in order to protect myself from the risk of the negative event happening, especially if I'm going to create a group insurance policy. So that when students then are on the flip side, they are the client and they're holding the policy, they'll have a much better understanding of why they're being charged what they are charged and how that money is being used by the insurance company to A, pay out claims, and then also B, to create profit for themselves as a business. So this will take on the role of insurance agent. You'll see these two characters in the bottom right appearing throughout the series. There's part of the Fi Educator group, which is an insurance company, and they're guiding you through becoming an insurance agent or underwriter. Okay, so part one of the project, or part one of the series, is going to be very low order, very easy. I'm going to give you that policy on the right, so the one that's got the kind of purplish background. So this is a sample policy for a smartwatch. So it's a fictitious insurance policy, but it's got a lot of the verbiage that you would see in a real policy, condensed down, got rid of a lot of the jargon that isn't necessary to understand. And what students will do is they'll do a Kahoot, and it'll be a Kahoot challenge where they'll have the policy in front of them. The question on the Kahoot will ask them to locate or interpret some part of the policy. So they'll have to find it and then select the answer that best applies in that situation. So a really kind of fun way to just start thinking about insurance policies, finding the different parts and that sort of thing. All right, then part two, and you could do this in the same class period. So the first one's only like a 20-minute activity. This one would probably be about a 60-minute activity. So you could combine them together into one class period and it would fit pretty well. And the second one builds on the first one. So they accompany each other very well in a single class period. All right, so you got this time, we're getting kind of closer to creating an insurance plan. This time we're sort of running the numbers. The students are going to get given this reference sheet that is research about Chromebooks in a made-up school. So we surveyed a bunch of students. We got these results. We want to provide insurance for their school-issued Chromebook. Help us to determine the premium that we should charge. So they will get a Google Sheet that you can see a sample page from it on the right. I'll show you the full thing in a second. But you'll get a Google Sheet that will have the calculations, basically a walkthrough of the calculations for determining the premium for this policy. And we'll also offer two other options where there's a deductible and co-insurance. And we see how does that impact the premium of the policy. So how much we as the insurance company should charge in order to cover our potential losses, as well as have an emergency fund buffer and administration and profit all built in as well. So there's a little bit of business education going on in here too, which is fun to include. All right, part three, this is the big one. This is the most fun. This is where students are going to create that insurance plan. So they're creating a cell phone insurance policy for students in their school. And we're going to put students into teams. In the teams, it's probably about a team of 4. We're going to have the students break up into smaller roles. You can see the job description sheet on the right here. So there's a researcher, an actuary, an underwriter, and a marketer. And within those roles, each one is going to have their own Google document that's going to kind of guide them through how to be the head of this. And by head, it means that they are responsible for the final product that that person has to produce, but they're going to coordinate with the other members of the group. So basically you take on a mini leadership role. You get the rest of your team to do what's needed for you to complete your part, and then you become a support member for another person in your group to help them complete their task as well. I'm probably looking at 1 to 2 days to do this one properly. These are all the files that you'll get with it. I'm going to show you a couple of these now as well. Okay, so the first one I'm going to show you is the assemble. This is the step 2 in the series. In this one, so you've got a Google document. It can be printed, so I made the boxes big enough that you could print it and have students write it. You could have students write it and then type their answers up if they're going to be working in small teams or collaborating, but Google Docs are great for collaboration anyway. So they'll talk about their own experience, they'll reference that research sheet, and then they'll start going through the calculations. And it's very tidy, it's spread out nicely, it's not too cramped, kind of why Google Doc is nice in this case. And there's a lot of insight as well as to why you might choose different options, why a customer might choose it, and so on. So again, deepening that understanding of why insurance is important, what we would use it for, and whether coverage would be important to them in this case. So my goal is that my students will be able to kind of look at what they own and decide what they want insurance for, and then shop for insurance smartly because they understand how it works. The create, so the third part in the series, each student who is the head of their own department is going to get a Google Doc like this. So this is the one for the research person, so the head researcher. They're going to make a plan. They're going to do a survey. So I have a survey template ready for them. So they're going to survey students in the school. I have instructions for you in the teacher instructions for how to set it up. And it's very straightforward. They follow through and do the boxes. They let their team help them through it. And then they switch over to become a support person for the next person. And they're all kind of working at the same time too, which is nice. So nobody should be just kind of sitting around doing nothing, which is always a goal when you do group work, as I'm sure you know. They will also come with these introduction slides as well. So you can put these up on your screen when you're introducing the different topics. So the second activity and the third one both have slides to go with. The first one doesn't really need it, so I didn't put any in there. But it introduces the scenario, kind of builds up the role play that goes with it, and then you can send them into their groups and get them working. So lots of support provided for you, and I hope that you will find this is an awesome project to do with your students, really going to help spice up your insurance unit, which I know is one of the toughest ones to teach. And if you have any questions, please do send me an email, rob@fieducator.com. Thank you so much for checking it out.